Hello, welcome to day 2 at Digital Manufacturing Week. I'm here in the manufacturer's studio. I'm with Greg Hawkridge of the IFM. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you. Great to be here.
How can SMEs tap into the benefits of digitalisation when they have cost constraints and they need to do it on a budget?
So the main thing that we're trying to convey to SMEs as part of the Shoestring project is that it doesn't have to be something big. A lot of the times, particularly when you come to shows like this, you see companies advertising amazing things that can be done, and there is a lot of amazing stuff that can be done with Industry 4, etc. But for SMEs, almost the best place to start is what are the things that are causing you a headache? What are the things that are driving your operators nuts day to day? What are the things that are causing a lot of non-value added time? And are there easy digital solutions that you can put in place that reduce that non-value added time, reduce those headaches, and almost let you dip your toe in the pool of digitalization rather than having to jump in?
So you mentioned there about for SMEs getting started. So what are the key business needs for SMEs when it comes to embracing digital transformation?
So as part of Shoestring, our focus has always been on a needs-based view of digitalization rather than looking at the technologies that are available. And as a result, we came up with a catalog of about 60 solution areas, we call them, that SMEs can do in a low-cost manner. And we've put that before probably about over 300 companies at this point through various workshops. And we were able to draw a top 10 out of that. So in there are things like job tracking, knowing where work is through the shop floor, things like digital job cards, digital work instructions, some basic process monitoring. There are many others I can go into, but those are some of the key things we can draw out.
Okay, so are there any low-cost technologies that are available that can help SMEs to meet the challenges that they have today?
So there are lots of low-cost technologies available. One of the things that we've been trying to focus on in this project is looking at stuff that's not necessarily traditionally considered industrial. So stuff in the consumer space, almost all of us have smartphones, and that's gone leaps and bounds beyond a lot of what's in use in factories today. And what we're looking at is seeing is there stuff in the commercial sector that is suitable for use in industry, robust enough? An excellent example we always jump to is GoPro cameras. They're as robust as anything you're likely to find in an industrial setting. But also a lot of the stuff that isn't as robust, there are places where it can be used. So one of the things that we draw on quite a lot is Raspberry Pis, because they may not be the most robust and when you compare them to traditional PLCs, but one of the benefits of them is that there's a massive amount of community support around them. And very seldom have we gone into an SME and not had somebody there that has a Raspberry Pi at home and knows how to use it.
Right, okay, so a lot of the solutions to the SME problems can potentially be found in the consumer, in consumers that we see all around us today.
Yes, and one of the things that we're trying to do is looking at ways in which we can make it easier for SMEs to leverage those off-the-shelf technologies, provide some structure around that to make it easy for them to work out what they need, work out how to put them together and end up with something that really helps them.
Indeed. And you've mentioned the digital manufacturing on a Shoestring project for the IFM. Can you explain a little bit more about the project itself?
Sure.
and how it came about?
So it's an EPSRC funded project. The name itself, for those that aren't familiar with the shoestring bit, came from back in the day you had those Europe on a shoestring. So Professor Duncan McFarlane, who started this project, he'd used one of those books when he was younger, traveling around Europe, and actually said, well, this is essentially what we're wanting to do, is look at how we can embark around digital manufacturing with essentially as little money as possible. So yes, it's an EPSRC funded project. It's a collaboration between the University of Cambridge and the University of Nottingham. We have over 50 partners the last time I counted, ranging from SMEs and end users of Shoestring to solution and technology providers, and then a wide variety of industry associations and education providers that help us to reach even more SMEs.
Okay. And do you have any case examples of SMEs that have been involved in the project already?
So we currently have 3 that are at a case study stage. We've got 14 pilots ongoing at the moment. And I can go into examples with some of them. So one of the first ones we got in place was with a company up in Scotland called Buchanan Orthotics, and they manufacture customized footwear for the NHS. And what they were interested in was job tracking. sort of knowing where things are sort of around the shop floor. It's a very simple system we've got in place, but their current estimates is that it saves their shop floor manager about 2 hours a week, and that's time that he can put into actually managing rather than sort of firefighting.
Indeed. And obviously, major theme at the show and in manufacturing in general is sustainability. So for SMEs who are on a shoestring budget, how can they go about tackling an issue so big as sustainability?
So one of our emphases with Shoestring is almost a modular architecture for how you put together these solutions. Because one of the concerns that you can have when you're looking at something that's a low-cost solution is that it's almost something that's disposable. And that obviously is not ideal. But through having a modular architecture, our intention is that we can develop this in a way such that you can essentially, rather than throwing away a solution, you can incrementally improve and adapt it. So you end up carrying it forward for longer, it has a longer lifespan, it's easier to replace components, it's easier to repair it rather than having stuff that goes to waste.
Technologies like 5G and IoT are being rolled out within manufacturing more and more, but are those technologies realistically available for SMEs to roll out on a large scale?
Probably in the future. At the moment we haven't dealt with them a lot because one of our emphases with this project is you need to start where SMEs are comfortable. And our expectation is that as we do more of this, we've seen it with many of our case studies, as you start to sort of expose SMEs to this, and as they start to sort of take a chance and try something, they realize that it's not as scary as it seems, and there's a lot that can be done. Mm-hmm. And it opens them up and makes them more confident to try things in the future. Okay.
And just finally, Greg, skills are obviously a huge issue within manufacturing, and a lot of SMEs obviously have plans for grand scale and grand ambitions. So, but do they have the other skills there, and are they available at the moment to help them meet those ambitions? And if not, what can they do about it?
We've found SMEs to be surprised at the skills that actually are available within their companies that they didn't know were there, but there are still sort of skill shortages around digitalization, and that's why at the moment, as part of the Shoestring project, one of our big pushes as we move into our next phases, which is trying to do sort of regional rollouts across the UK, is to engage with technology providers, training providers, particularly around the apprentice space. Can we help sort of using this low-cost approach to digitalization help apprentices to get hands-on with digitalization, so that almost you get these apprentices that are going into SMEs that they've done some of this digitalization, they know how easy it can be, so when they see problems they go with, well actually I can probably do something about that.
That's what we've got time for, but thanks very much for joining me, Greg, and enjoy the rest of Digital Manufacturing Week.
Thanks.